If you want a simple but focused strategy to start investing and building long-term wealth, this is the video for you. In the last video, I broke down 4 steps we would take before investing to build up our foundation. Now we're getting to the part that most people want to talk about: investing. What's the strategy? Which accounts? What are the investments? Our goal is not to chase hype, pick the next hot stock, or chase every investing trend online. Our goal is to build a simple system that will grow wealth over time and still work for a family with real expenses. If you haven't seen the first Starting from Zero episode, you don't have to go back and watch it, but I do recommend completing those steps before starting the steps in this video. And if you want to follow the journey of a normal family trying to build real long-term wealth, subscribe and follow along. So let's dive in. Before we get into the actual steps of the system, we need to talk about our overall investment strategy. For us, the strategy is long-term buy and hold investing. That means we're not trying to trade in and out of the market all the time. We're not trying to guess which stock is about to blow up. And we're not checking our investments every single day to try to time the market. The goal is much simpler than that. We want to consistently buy investments that give us exposure to the broad market, hold them for decades, and let compounding and time do most of the work. For us, that means index funds and ETFs. An index fund or an index ETF is basically a basket of investments. Instead of putting our money into a single company, we can own pieces of hundreds or thousands of companies at once. That gives us diversification. And diversification matters because I don't want us putting all of our eggs in one basket. I want to be able to own the market, stay consistent, and avoid making emotional decisions every time the market goes up or the market goes down. So here are a few index funds that we're currently invested in. SWTSX, this gives us total US stock market exposure. SWPPX, this gives us S&P 500 exposure. SWISX, this gives us international stock exposure. And SWSSX, this gives us small cap exposure. Now, I'm not sharing these for you to copy our exact portfolio. I'm sharing them as types of index funds that you could look for. Now, another piece to this is finding index funds that are low cost, because expensive actively managed funds can slowly eat away your returns over time. For example, if you have $100,000 invested and the fund charges 1%, that means every year you're giving up $1,000 in fees. But if a low cost index fund costs you 0.03%, that's only about $30 per year. So when I look at investments, it's not just what can this earn for me? I'm also asking, how much does it cost to own? Now, if somebody wants to be a little bit more hands-off, a target date fund is a good alternative. A target date fund is basically an all-in-one fund. You enter your target retirement date, and over time, the portfolio adjusts for you. I personally like being a little bit more involved. So I like buying the index funds and doing everything myself. And I know there are other investment types out there, but the way I think about it, those don't come into play until our system is fully working. Until then, I want the core of our portfolio to stay boring. The goal is to build a simple enough system that we can follow for decades. So now that we know the strategy, we need to know where should we start investing first. And that brings us to step 5 of our system. Now, picking up from the last video, after building our foundation, step 5 is where I would start focusing on maxing out Roth IRAs and HSAs if you have access to one. The Roth IRA is one of my favorite investing accounts. You put money in after taxes. So that means you don't get that tax break today. But if you follow the rules, that money can grow tax-free and it can come out in retirement tax-free. That's the big advantage with a Roth. For 2026, the annual Roth IRA contribution limit is $7,500 per person if you're under 50. So if you're a married couple, that's up to $15,000 between both IRAs. And this is very important for single income families like us. We don't want investments and retirement building in only one spouse's name. With a Roth IRA, there are restrictions once you get to a certain income threshold. If you're an individual or a household that earns a high income, make sure to check the limits before you make any contributions. Now, the other account is an HSA. HSA just means health savings account. But the catch is you can only contribute to one if you have an HSA eligible health plan. And I don't recommend picking an HSA just because you have access to one. It has to make sense for your family and for your situation. But the main benefit of an HSA is having a triple tax advantage. You get tax benefits when the money goes in, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals when it's used on qualified medical expenses. That is rare. For 2026, the HSA contribution limit is $4,400 for self-only coverage and $8,750 for family coverage. So the main goal of step 5 is maxing out these tax advantage accounts. And once those accounts are maxed out, then we begin asking how much of our income do we need to start putting towards investing to reach financial freedom? And that's where step 6 comes in. Step 6 is where we increase our total savings rate to 25%. This is where the plan starts to feel a lot more real. Now I would go back and increase our employment retirement accounts or possibly funding a taxable brokerage account. And this is different from the employer match we talked about in the last video. Getting the match was about not leaving free money on the table. This step is going beyond the match and intentionally building wealth at a higher rate. For 2026, the employee contribution limit to a 401k is $24,500 if you're under 50. That's a lot of money. And maxing out a 401k might not happen right away. So here's how I think about this step. Either work towards maxing out your employer-sponsored retirement account or get your total savings rate to 25%. So an easy math example, if you're making $100,000 per year, 25% of that is $25,000 a year. And that's about $2,083 per month. For most people, that's not an easy number to hit, especially if you're in the messy middle with kids or just starting out your career. But that's why I like the 25% target. It's high enough that it forces us to be very intentional, but it's also grounded in real life. Now for us, we're not here yet. We're still back building our foundation at step 4. I sort of think of this 25% as our freedom number, because once we start consistently saving 25% each year, that's when things really start to take off. And this is when we start creating options for ourselves later. Now, once that savings rate is in place, now things start to get a lot more personal. Step 7 is all about accomplishing large financial goals. Now the question is, what are we actually building towards? This is where the bigger goals that may have been pushed to the sideline can finally start being part of the plan. It could be starting your own business. It could be getting into real estate investing. It could be paying for your kids' college. The point is, not every family is going to have the exact same goals they want to accomplish in this step. Building wealth isn't just about building higher account balances. It's also about being able to fund the life that actually matters to us. So step 7 is where money starts moving past just retirement savings and funding these bigger goals. But there's still one more step after this. Because even at this point, the system may be running smoothly, but there still might be some low interest debt hanging in the background. And that raises one final question. When should we pay that off? So that brings us to step 8, the final step in our system, paying off low interest debt. And this is the last step for a reason. High interest debt is urgent, no doubt about it, but low interest debt is more of a strategy decision. And when I say low interest debt, I'm talking about mortgages, some student loans, and even some car loans. Anything that's under about that 6 to 7% interest rate. Debt that isn't destroying the budget, but it's still sitting in the background. And the reason we would address this last is because of the opportunity cost. So if a loan is charging 4%, but investing could potentially earn you more over the long term, paying off that loan early may mean you're giving up future growth. But since we followed steps 1 through 7, our investing system is already built. So now we can start attacking this low interest debt. And at this point, paying off this debt is more of an emotional payoff than it is a math payoff. There's a lot of peace that comes with fewer payments and knowing you don't owe somebody money anymore. And for us, we want to be completely debt-free by retirement. No mortgage, no car payments, no debt following us into that season of life. So step 8 is all about becoming completely debt-free. And if you've made it this far in the video, first off, thank you for staying and watching the whole thing. But now you also have a complete strategy and roadmap to building long-term wealth. So if we put this video and the prior video together, this is the full roadmap if we were to start over from zero. First, we got to protect the family. So step 1 is getting that 1-month buffer. Step 2 is taking advantage of the employer match and getting that free money. Step 3 is wiping out high interest debt as fast as we can. Step 4 is building that fully funded emergency fund. Then we start building wealth. Step 5 is all about maxing out the Roth IRAs and maxing out the HSA if it makes sense. Step 6 is getting that savings rate up to 25%. Step 7 is funding those bigger financial goals. And step 8 is paying off that low interest debt and being able to say, I'm completely debt free. The goal isn't to have the most complicated investment strategy possible. The goal is to build a system simple enough that we can follow it for decades. Now, if you want to follow our family go through these exact steps, make sure to subscribe and follow along. We're sharing our real numbers, our real decisions, setbacks, and wins as we try to figure out what building long-term wealth actually looks like for our family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.